being of such size and thickness, and I was ashamed of him for breaking by reason of a pistol ball, in the mere hug of a man, and it fetched me down in conceit of strength, so that I was careful of afterwards. All this was a lesson to me. All this made me very humble, illness being a thing, as yet, altogether unknown to me. Not that I cried small, or skulked, or feared the death which some foretold, shaking their heads about mortification and a green appearance; only that I seemed quite fit to go to heaven, and Lorna. For in my sick distracted mind, stirred with many tossings, like the beard in the spear of frog spawn carried by the current, hung the black and central essence of my future life; a life without Lorna, a tadpole life, a stupid head, and nobody. Many men may like such life, anchorites, fakirs, high priests, and so on; but to my mind it is not the native thing God meant for us. My dearest mother was a show, with crying and with fretting. The Doones, as she thought, were born to destroy us. Scarce had she come to some liveliness, though sprinkled with tears every now and then, after her great bereavement, and 10 years' time to dwell on it, when lo, here was her husband's son, the pet child of her own good John, murdered like his father. Well, the ways of God were wonderful. So they were, and so they are, and so they ever will be. Let us debate them as we will, as ways are His, and much the same, only second hand from Him; and I expected something of Him, even in my worst of times, knowing that I had done my best. This is not edifying talk, as our nonconformist parson says, when he can get no more to drink. Therefore let me only tell what became of Lorna. One day I was sitting in my bedroom, for I could not get downstairs, and there was no one strong enough to carry me, even if I would have allowed it. Though it cost me some sore trouble and weariness, I had put all on my Sunday clothes, out of respect for the doctor, who was coming to bleed me again, as he always did twice a week. And it struck me that he had seemed hurt in his mind, because I wore my worst clothes to be bled in; for lie in bed I would not after 6 o'clock, and even that was great laziness. I looked at my right hand, whose gasp has been like that of a blacksmith's vice; and it seemed to myself impossible that this could be John Ridd's. The great frame of the hand was there, as well as the muscles, standing forth like the guttering of a candle, and the broad blue veins, going up the back, and crossing every finger. But as for colour, even Lorna's could scarcely have been whiter; and as for strength, little Ensign Doone might have come and held it fast. I laughed as I tried in vain to lift the basin set for bleeding me. Then I thought of all the lovely things going on out of doors just now, concerning which the drowsy song of the bees came to me. These must be among the thyme, by the sound of their great content. Therefore the roses must be in bloom, and the woodbine, and clove gillyflower; the cherries on the wall must be turning red; the yellow sally must be on the brook; wheat must be callow with quivering bloom, and the early meadows scythed with hay. Yet here was I, a helpless creature, quite unfit to stir among them, gifted with no sight, no scent of all the changes that move our love, and leads our hearts, from mouth to mouth, along the quiet path of life. And what was worse, I had no hope of caring ever for them more. Presently a little knock sounded through my gloomy room, and supposing it to be the doctor, I tried to rise and make my bow. But to my surprise it was little Ruth. who had never once come to visit me, since I was placed under the doctor's hands. Ruth was dressed so gaily, with rosettes and flowers and what not, that I was sorry for her bad manners, and thought she was come to conquer me, now that Lorna was done with. Ruth ran towards me with sparkling eyes, being rather short of sight. Then suddenly she stopped, and I saw entire amazement in her face. "Can you receive visitors, Cousin Ridd?" "Why, they never told me of this," she cried. "I knew that you were weak, dear John, but not that you were dying. Whatever is that basin for?" "I have no intention of dying, Ruth, and I like not to talk about it. But that basin, if you must know, is for the doctor's purpose." "What? Do you mean bleeding you? You poor weak cousin. Is it possible that he still does that?" "Twice a week for the last 3 weeks, dear. Nothing else has kept me alive." "Nothing else has killed you, nearly. There." And she set her little boot across the basin, and crushed it. "Not another drop shall they have from you." "Is Annie such a fool as that? And Lizzie, like a zany, at her books, and killing her brother between them?" I was surprised to see Ruth excited, her character being so calm and quiet, and I tried to soothe her with my feeble hand, as now she knelt before me. "Dear cousin, the doctor must know best, and he says so, every day. What has he been brought up for?" "Brought up for slaying and murdering. 20 doctors killed King Charles, in spite of all the women. Will you leave it to me, John? I have a little will of my own, and I am not afraid of doctors. Will you leave it to me, dear John? I have saved your Lorna's life, and now I will save yours, which is a far, far easier business." "You have saved Lorna's life? What do you mean by talking so?" "Oh, what I say, Cousin John, though perhaps I overprize my work. But at any rate, she says so." "I do not understand," I said, falling backward with bewilderment. "All women are such liars." "Have you ever known me to tell a lie?" Ruth, in great indignation, more feigned, I doubt, than "your mother may tell a story now and then when she feels it right, and so may both your sisters. But so you cannot do, John Ridd, and no more than you can I do it. If ever there was a virtuous truth in the eyes of a woman, it was now in Ruth Huckaback's, and my brain began very slowly to move, the heart being almost torpid from perpetual loss of blood. "I do not understand," was all I could say for a very long time. "Will you understand, if I show you Lorna? I have feared to do it, for the sake of you both. But now Lorna is well enough, if you think that you are, Cousin John, surely you will understand when you see your wife." Following her to the very utmost of my mind and heart, I felt that all she said was truth, and yet I could not make it out. And in her last few words there was such a power of sadness rising through the cover of gaiety, that I said to myself, half in a dream, "Ruth is very beautiful." Before I had time to listen much for the approach of footsteps, Ruth came back, and behind her Lorna, coy as if of her bridegroom, and hanging back with her beauty. Ruth banged